that this is 2nd century Hijri foundation of monasteries in Qardu, in Nuhadra, in Zinai, in Isla, near the Tur Abdin, the Nestorian Tur Abdin, if you want, Bet Garmai, Haditha, New City, Hit on the Euphrates, the bridge on the road. Again, the road is a very important topic indeed. Elif already mentioned that. There is the Buyuk Keshishlik with an inscription from 747. It was founded, Taqnat is founded, so cannot say anything else that there is a confirmation, Thomas of Marga, and there is epigraphy, and you have Marmema, which could be a rebuild, but he said built, Etban. So I don't know, it has to be discussed. You have many other cases actually that I cannot work on, but I will try to move forward a little bit. And I already showed that, I think. So there is this hypothesis that already Philippe already spoke about, that there were a very dynamic of layman foundations in this period of aristocratic people, and Hujayrabad is perhaps, it's another case study possible, but Hujayrabad is perhaps a retrojection because of the toponym, you know, but it could be discussed. But there is this Shubhali issue whose Hirian migrating to Mosul, as a lot of people in the 8th century. And in his case, it's very obvious in the text that he was making a foundation for himself. He was a very rich merchant, and he came to the monastery, and the monastery gave him a part of land to build his own cells and stuff. So it's kind of waqf in the 8th century, and we are in the 760s. So, and we have Abu Yusuf, the big, great Qadi of this time, that was very, very angry about this kind of people of the Sawamir, that people of the towers, of the recluse towers, that want to transfer their wealth, to look like poor, to not pay taxes, but they are not poor, they are not real poor, that's just work foundation. So I will not have any time to speak about the process of destruction of churches, but, and I will let the case, very interesting case of Khalid al-Qasri's church in Kufa, that is highlighting, in fact, in the Arabic historiography, the case that in the Mist you cannot build church. We have proofs of church building, but at this time, in the 740s, 750s, after Khalid al-Qasri was banned, there was, it was an important feature of the time. 750s, the 760s, no church in the Mist. Khalid al-Qasri is a bad governor, and this is a proof of his bad behavior. So you have this very interesting date in Theophan. Theophan was very young at this time, but you know, it's the sources match with the time. And he said that Salih ibn Ali, which is the uncle of the Caliph, when he was ruling over Syria, he banned new churches, Nea Ecclesia. And that is always the same expression you find in legal sources and in Syriac sources. So it's muhaddatha, is hadditha, is hatta in Syriac. And you have this crisis of this church of Echnesh in the Euphrates. And the crisis is, so I will finish on this case because it's the first. It's in 779, and you will understand why, again, I'm interested because I work on Christian Arab tribes, because it's about it's an analytic chronicle with I think the early, there is encadré, I don't know in English, between the birth of Jesus and the death of Jesus. Okay, and the dates were the Hijra, Sifin, and 2 dates in that for very unknown events of the 680s and 690s. And after you have only 1 date, is 779. 777. So there is a big gap, and you don't understand why. So it could be a reconstruction, and this is the geographical situation. And so Ahnash is in the middle, and the road you see between Khanashreh and Qaishum is the road of Dionysius, because he was living in this environment a little bit later. And below the last year, you have another year that was added by another hand or another in another context. About just 2 years later, 2 years after the Roman invasion, of two events of destruction of churches and the conversions of Christian Arabs of the region, because Christian Arabs were living in the region because they were serving in the army. And I think it's a time, very important time. And in Michael the Great, it's organized like that, you know, ecclesiastical chronicle, the civil chronicle, and the Aliyah. And the history of the Tanakh is the civil chronicle, and it's normal because I think it comes from Arabic sources, not from Christian sources. But it's connected with the history of the Muhtasib. And the Muhtasib, I don't know if I have it here. Yes, at the time when Mahdi began to rule over the Arabs, he sent a man called Muhtasib to pull down the churches that had been built in the time of the Tayyoye. And he ordered to sell the Christian slaves. Many churches were destroyed and the slaves fled. The church of the Chalcedonian in Aleppo was destroyed. So, and the Muhtasib is not a name. Muhtasib is a function. So it's interesting because the Syriac sources they don't understand, but you have also the Greek version in Theophan, and he gives another name again. It's Muchesias, the zealot. And I think we are exactly in a time of major change, and I will finish on this because I have just 1 minute. It could be some kind of conclusion to enter the legal Islamic sources that for the most part of you won't be very interested in this very, yeah. It's in Al-Azdi's a very important chronicle of Mosul for the 8th century. We don't have the first part, we don't have the last part, we just have for the 8th century. And he's mentioning that Al-Mahdi, when he was heading to make the war to repel the Roman invasion, that was one of the first Roman invasions since like 50 years. And he was just crossing through Mosul, and when he was in Mosul, he was in the middle of the crisis inside the city of Mosul, and the city of Mosul is exactly the kind of city that has a sulh, and Dionysius presents a sulh 50 years later. He presents a sulh about Mosul, but it's also a myth. It's an Arab city. It's an Arab-founded city. It was founded by the conquerors. So it's complicated for Mosul, and we don't know. When Al-Mahdi entered Mosul, the Christian came in complaint to him, so they do a petition because of the destruction of their church, exaggerating it. Some people of the church, known as Martuma, had brought into the territory of the church something that was not there. So they had a church and they put like some extension, some like no, the Christians were accused to have entered another territory, a territory that was not on their part. And I will finish, sorry, with that.